I'm going to tell you all a little bit more about our final presenter of the AI Engage Summit, the one and only Brian Piper. And honestly, I cannot think of a better way to end these 2 days of learning than to hear from somebody who I deeply respect, somebody whose book constantly sits on my desk and I refer to it. Brian Piper is the Director of Content Strategy and Assessment at the University of Rochester and one of the newest creators at Enrollify. He is the host of AI for You, which is excellent. And every single episode, he is giving you something very actionable that you can take, a prompt that you can take into your favorite AI tool of choice. It's really great. So you'll have to listen and check that out. Now, as I mentioned, Brian is an author. He's also an international keynote speaker and a consultant. He's been optimizing digital content since 1996, and he's created online training programs for hundreds of companies, including IBM and Volvo, and has spoken at hundreds of conferences and events. Brian has spent the last 8 years focusing on data analytics, digital marketing, and content strategy. And when he's not creating data visualizations, not only has he gone skydiving 3,000 times, he is spending time with his wife and his 6 kids. And if there's time, Brian, I can't wait to hear what they're dressing up as for Halloween. All right, friends, we're turning this one over to Brian, wrapping up this AI Engage Summit with a bang. Let's go.
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction, Mallory, and thank you all for being here today. I'm going to be talking about some of the ways you can use your content and AI and your data to better engage with your students. I'm going to be covering all aspects of your content workflows, so everything from creation to distribution and even optimization. So AI tools can have a massive impact on increasing efficiency in our workflow processes. Since I started integrating these tools into my workflow back in 2022, I've been tracking how much time I save. There was 1 week where I did 3 months worth of work in 1 week. So I hope some of the methods I'm going to talk about today will prove as helpful for you. But even more importantly than efficiency, these tools can help us make better use of the massive amounts of data that we have. And they can help us better connect with our students and really with any of the audiences that we need to communicate with or market to. So if you want to grab the slide deck from today, Mallory will have those posted, but you can also grab the templates, the prompts, the list of tools that I'll talk about. You can use this QR code or go to getmyslides.info to grab those. As Mallory said, I've been optimizing digital content since 1996, which basically just means that I'm old. But it also means that I've seen a lot of tools and technologies. And I haven't seen anything with the potential that AI has to make us more efficient and effective in our jobs. Ethan Mollick is an AI expert. He's a professor at Wharton. He's the author of the book Co-Intelligence. He put out this article back in April of this year, saying that we can expect these AI models to double in capabilities every 5 to 14 months. And if you look at the performance data on the model releases since then, he's been right on track with that prediction. And there doesn't look like there's any slowing down because the massive amount of financial investment that's being made into these tools. So that means that all the tools that we're using today are the worst AI tools we'll ever use. And we're just barely scratching the surface of how to use these tools. So now's the time to start using these tools and see how they can be helpful for you. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. But first, I want to talk about dinner. So I'm the main cook and shopper in our household. And as Mallory mentioned, my wife and I do have 6 kids between the two of us. And when they're all home, they eat a lot of food. So here's the typical scene on a Sunday night. We'll all be hanging around in the dining room, playing cards. And I'll say, hey, I'm going shopping tomorrow. Anybody need anything or have any requests for meals throughout the week? And you know what I get? That's right, crickets. Now, I mean, they don't want to eat crickets, but I get silence or a lot of, oh, whatever, I don't care. And then our middle son always requests tacos. So then I have to spend my time coming up with the meal plan for the week and coming up with the shopping list, which is the last thing I want to do on a Sunday night. So back in December of 2022, I started playing around with Chat GPT, and I thought this might be an interesting experiment. So I went in and I said, give me some meal ideas for a week to feed 8 people that are easy to prepare and healthy. And it came back with some pretty generic recommendations, and I wasn't that impressed. But then I started continuing the conversation and adding more data because that's what we do to make these models work better. We give them more data. So I told them one of the people's pescatarian, 4 people don't like spicy foods. I prefer to cook meals that are a little fancier but most of the kids aren't very adventurous eaters. So then it came back with some better ideas. And even if I only got 5 ideas out of the 15 that it returned, I could just ask for 15 more. And so then when custom GPTs came out, I thought, now here we go. So I decided to build the culinary creator. Now, if you haven't built a custom GPT before, it's really simple. Mallory has a great lightning talk that she did at High Ed Web. She can probably drop the link into the chat for that. You do need the paid version of ChatGPT, but you can either go through their little create process or you can jump right into the configure settings. And that's basically where you just put in all the information. So you go into as much detail as you can. And I said, here's the preparation methods I like to use. Here are all the appliances I have. Here's what I like to do, what I don't like to do. You could tell it about your eating habits or food allergies. Tell it what kind of meals you're eating that are getting kind of tired. I also asked it to do like wine and cocktail pairing because, who doesn't like a drink with dinner once in a while? So you really configure it to work the way that you want it to work. I said, first I want you to give me ideas for meals with like main courses and side dishes and desserts and different options for each of those. And then we'll go through that process. And then I'm going to ask for recipes for specific dishes. But when you generate a recipe, also generate an image of that dish. And then I'm going to ask for preparation timing for each meal so that I can do whatever prep is needed throughout the week so that it's quick to assemble at dinner time. And then I'm going to ask for a shopping list for the week for all the different recipes. And then you can add in documents. So I added in a map of my grocery store and I added in a list of the order that I shop as I move through the grocery store. So a lot of data that I provided. So now I can do all my meal planning. I can, go through the different ideas. I can get recipes with images of the different dishes. Then I can have the whole prep schedule for the entire week so I can get as much done on the weekend as I can. And then it gives me the shopping list in the order that I shop at the store that I shop at. So this saves me a ton of time and takes a huge cognitive load off my brain that I could put towards something else like spending time with my kids. And I've created a lot of other custom GPTs for personal use. I have one that helps me plan my workouts so I don't end up doing the same routines every week. I've got 2 different ones that help me come up with travel itineraries when I'm going to conferences or on vacation. I've got one customized for my solo trips, like this one is for Vegas. And then I've got one specific for family trips. I've even got one to create Facebook Marketplace ads from 1 or 2 pictures, which has saved me tons of time when, you have to clean out the basement. So I've learned a lot about the power of using these tools by leveraging them outside of my work. And I've tried playing around with some of the public GPTs, but most of them haven't been super helpful. And I think the real power of these tools comes from the ability to personalize them for your specific needs. So now let's look at some content applications for these tools. So I've been collecting use cases for ways these tools have saved me time over the past 2 years. And this is just a partial list, and we obviously don't have time in the next 40 minutes to go through all of these. But I wanted to touch on a few of these, and then we'll dive deeper into some that have been the most effective for me. So obviously you can use these tools to help with, content outlines and brainstorming. Day and Ashley showed us some great ways yesterday to use these tools to help with emails. I work at a research university. We create a lot of content around ongoing research, which is usually, in the form of very lengthy and detailed technical findings. These tools are great at summarizing, very technical documents and pulling out key points. So if you don't understand everything within a document and it's been published, you can upload it into the tools and then have it give you a breakdown of what's in there at, a seventh grade level, or you can have it use a metaphor for skydiving or whatever you can relate to, so you can get a better understanding of that technology. And then you can just go in and spot check to make sure that it was accurately representing the content in that document. I also spend a lot of time keeping up to date with everything that's going on in the AI and analytics landscapes. And there's a lot of stuff going on in those landscapes. So I actually use a tool called Halda AI, and it's a Chrome extension that is free. And you can go to any YouTube video and it will give you a breakdown of everything that happens with a timestamp. So you can go and watch just the pieces that you want out of an hour-long video. So these tools are also great for, triaging different content that you get. So newsletters I get or podcasts that I listen to, it can help me figure out which ones are most relevant for me, which ones I should spend my time actually diving into deeper. So I've saved hours of time just having it summarize different content for me. So a lot of times we'll start off by researching, gathering data around topics. Whenever you're looking to deep dive into a topic and you want specific and reliable resources, I highly recommend starting with Perplexity. If you're not using Perplexity, if you don't take anything else away from this presentation, I hope you start trying Perplexity. It's replaced Google for a lot of my search, and I'm an SEO guy. So the things that I like about Perplexity is that it goes out and runs live internet searches. It goes through the results for you to give you the most relevant information. Wait, that's Hald AI. Sorry, just answering the chat. And then it cites all the sources, and that's my favorite part. So it actually shows you where it got the information that it's delivering to you, and it shows you the citations within the different sections of the content. And you can actually dive deeper into those different resources and link right to them so you can validate them immediately. So this is a great way to start collecting data and statistics to explore studies on a particular topic without having to worry too much about it hallucinating, which you get a lot of that from the other tools. So once I kind of have some foundational ideas around the content I want to create and what type of information there is out there, then I'll usually go to the next round of large language models to do some more brainstorming and just kind of get some other ideas out there. I'll share my thoughts with the tools and then ask for where gaps are. And these tools change so quickly and so often that I will usually run 4 different tools in 4 different browser windows, and then I'll look through the output on each one to see what parts and pieces are most useful. So recently I've been running ChatGPT, Claude, Hyperwrite, which is actually a ChatGPT wrapper, but they have a bunch of kind of specialized sections within it that really deliver good content for specific, for particular topic areas. And then Gemini. And then, sometimes I'll ask the same question that I asked in Perplexity. Sometimes I'll come up with, follow-up questions from my initial request. Sometimes I'll use I'll jump down the rabbit hole of the different questions that it suggests at the end of its responses. I'll use those tools to create initial outlines for content or to help me organize my thoughts and notes into a more cohesive flow. A lot of times I'll create my own outline and then put it into these tools and ask what I'm missing. So by this time, I've got a pretty good grasp on the content I want to create and kind of the direction I want to go with it. And then, whether that's a video script or podcast questions or a blog piece, then I really put on my content marketing hat and start thinking about who the specific audience is and what they're going to be the most interested in, and what's going to be the most useful to them. And that's really the foundation of content marketing. And really, the best way to do that is by using personas. So, personas are the imaginary friends of the marketing world. And there's no replacement for going out and doing actual audience research and doing interviews, gathering a lot of qualitative and quantitative data from that audience. But that is a time consuming and resource heavy process. We have a lot of different audiences that we're trying to communicate with in higher ed. So we have some core personas that we've created through traditional methods, but with the right set of prompts and the right data, these tools can help you create pretty good usable personas. So I want to talk for just a second about prompting. We could do an entire session just on different ways to prompt and different methodologies. But what I tend to use the most is Christopher Penn's race structure. So in this format, in this framework, you give your tool a role, then you tell it what action you're going to ask it to perform. You give it all the context you can, all the data, all the examples, and then you ask it to execute that prompt. So sometimes, you're fine just asking a question, but on tasks where I'm really looking for a detailed and precise output, this tends to be the most effective prompt structure that I've used. Although just this last week, Chris updated his framework. So I've got to go get his rationale on his new framework, and I'll spend some time testing that. We'll see which one works out the best. But this is a great basis to start from. And I was also talking about data and how important it is for these tools to get a lot of data to give you the best output. Now, luckily for us in higher education, we have a lot of data. We have data around different personas, different audiences, who we might want to create content for. For example, on our website, we have this common data set with all sorts of information about our students, the makeup of our student body. And this is all public. This is all out on our website. So we're not worried about uploading this to the tools. So this is a great source of data. So, you could get information from your CRM systems or even from, your HR systems if you're targeting your staff or faculty. Of course, any data that you put into these public systems, you want to make sure it's been anonymized, that there's no personal information or PII or PHI data included in there. So once I have the data and I kind of know my prompt structure, my framework, then I go to ChatGPT. I upload that PDF with all that data in there, and then I write the prompt. So I give it a role. You're a content marketing expert with an understanding of audiences and targeted marketing. Then you tell it what you're going to ask it to perform, what task you're going to ask it to do. So I'm going to ask you to create a persona for, a potential undergraduate student at this university, and you give it the URL because it can read your URL. Then you give it all the context, right? All the data that you can give it, examples that you can give it. So use the attached data set to understand the typical composition of our student class, and then use the content from our strategic priorities website to understand our goals, look at our about page to figure out who our ideal student is. And then you're going to ask it to execute. So create the persona, please, take your time. And it's actually been shown that telling these models to take their time creates better output because they're not trying to rush through and just give you an answer. And then I always say please and thank you because, when the robot overlords come, maybe they'll remember I was polite to them. So anyway, you take that prompt, you put it in there, and then it comes back with kind of a base level, kind of generic persona. So then you go back in and you ask more questions. Now you're going to really start developing the specifics around, an audience persona. You're going to ask around their priority initiatives, success factors, barriers, decision criteria, what their user journey might look like. And, because then it's going to give you really good feedback on that. It'll give you all sorts of different ideas, and you can, kind of go back and forth with these different tools. We've tried this in several different LLMs, and we've pulled together parts and pieces from several different models to come up with who we think is our ideal user persona. And then these tools are multimodal, so you can ask it to create an image of your persona. So now you have all the parts and pieces that you need to create a traditional persona where you could print out a handout and give it to all your marketing communications people so that they can have it in their mind who they're talking to when they're creating content. But this is where it starts to get fun. So now you can take that persona you have and you can create a custom GPT out of that. So you take all that information that you just gathered and any relevant websites or supporting industry documents around that audience that you have, and you can add those all into the configure settings for your custom GPTs. And, if you already have personas created, you can pull in the data from your actual personas that you gathered. You could pull in interviews with your students, add all that data in so it really understands who your particular student is. And then you can start asking that GPT information. You can start asking it about your admissions page. You can ask it what other information, what other content should be included on this page to help them make their decision about what university, what institution they're going to select. You can ask if the language is easy to understand, if it makes sense to them. You could ask them competitive analysis questions. So you could ask them to look at your peer institutions and see what they have on their admissions page that you don't have. All sorts of things that you can do with these tools. So, we started out with just the one custom GPT, but then we took it a step further. So you can actually use the @ symbol to call out specific custom GPTs within a standard prompt. So like if you just go into Chat GPT and you just type in the @ symbol, it'll pull up a list of all of the GPTs that you've created. So we could select potential Pat, and we could ask Pat a question about our new AI pillar page. And you could say, what other information might be useful to include on this page to help you decide whether or not you're going to explore attending the university. So, Pat will give you their answer. And then what you can do is you can actually go in that same thread and you can add a different custom GPT. So now you can talk to a potential international graduate student and you can ask them the same question. So you can basically run virtual focus groups within one prompt on different types of content to figure out what information is the most relevant to students on your pages or what you should change, where your gaps are in your content. So, you could also ask the different students where they might go to find more information about your programs, what other channels they might use to research your institution. Because in this day and age, distribution really equals discoverability. So it's not enough anymore to just optimize content for SEO on your website. We really have to think about how we can get our content out into all the different channels that our students, that our audiences are consuming that content, right? You can't just come up with, the best keywords for your blog posts anymore. Now you have to get the best titles for your YouTube videos or the best hashtags for your social posts. You have to understand, especially Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they are searching differently. A lot of search is happening on social, on YouTube, through these AI tools, or even in online communities like Reddit. So it's important to create the best content for your niche and then to have that content in all the places where your audience might be looking for it. But that's a problem because we're in higher ed. We don't have a lot of resources. We don't have a lot of time. We're already wearing multiple hats. So now how do we figure out how to get our content redistributed onto all these different platforms, repurposed for all these different audiences that we're trying to connect with? So luckily, AI tools can help us with that. So obviously, ChatGPT is a great tool to help. You could create custom GPT personas to help guide and direct your content for specific audiences. You can use it to repurpose content for other channels. So ChatGPT does a great job of taking content from a transcript or a web page and then repurposing it as social content for a particular audience or for coming up with podcast or video topics or scripts or newsletter content. This is actually what the Marketing AI Institute does. They're a great resource if you don't know of them. They basically take their one piece of original content each week, which is their 1 hour podcast that they do in video. They talk about, the latest updates in generative AI and marketing specific. And then they use several different AI tools to turn that 1 hour of content into 20 or 30 additional pieces of content for different audiences on different channels that they can distribute. And they do it in a matter of a few hours. So really impressive. In the past, it would have taken days to redistribute and reconvert all that different content. So ChatGPT is great for that. Midjourney and DALL-E are both text to image tools. So these are great. And actually, one of the things, let me just show you really quick. One of my favorite things is this Midjourney magazine. So I love that Midjourney actually has a print magazine that features AI created art. And it shows you down at the bottom of each piece of art what the prompt is that was used to create that. So I love getting that publication. Um, so both great tools. It's important to remember that these AI generated images can't be copyrighted. They can't be owned. There's still a lot of questions about the ways these image models are trained, the ethics of using these models for public facing content, but they are great tools for ideation, conception, communicating between a writer and an editor with your graphic designer. So you can say, this is what we're thinking, we want the design to look like. Now you actually go and create that manually. So it can do great things like iterating on existing images or creating infographics. Some of the generative AI features in tools like Photoshop and Adobe Firefly are incredible time savers when it comes to things like removing backgrounds or pulling out different elements from images. And we're going to see all that functionality soon in all of our video editing software. Also, as part of our institutional guidelines, we include recommendations on being transparent anytime you're using these tools to generate content. So we have used, so for stories about AI on our news channel, we have used some AI generated images, but we make sure that we give credit to the tool for that image and that we're very clear about the fact that this is an AI generated image. Not being open about using these tools can be a way to lose trust with your audience. Tools like Descript and Capsho are game changers when it comes to editing video and audio. Descript can help you do things like transcribe your videos, which you could do with, Otter AI or one of those other tools. But it can also help with regenerating audio. So if you're doing an interview with someone and you're talking to a student out on campus and their audio level drops, or, a group of people walks by and are real loud, there's a lot of wind in the mic, then you can actually train the model on a section of clean audio and then just type into the transcript the words that the subject had said, and it will sync those words in their voice to their mouth movements. It can do things like force eye contact with the camera. So I am actually looking at the camera now, but if I was using Descript, I could be reading off of, a script, and it would make it look like I was looking at the camera. It can remove filler words from videos and seamlessly string the videos together so you don't even know that the filler words were there. They recently added a feature to add filler words to videos so it makes you seem more real and human. Capsho is great for podcast editing. It can automatically generate show notes, titles, social posts, promotional emails, all sorts of great things that these tools can do. Opus Clips and Gloss AI are both video repurposing tools. So they can dynamically go through long form video and pull out key elements like key moments from those videos and then dynamically create shorter clips featuring those elements. So like if, we're recording this event right now, as soon as we're done, you could grab this full video, run this through Opus Clips, and it will go through, identify the most important sections from my conversation, convert the horizontal vertical to video, resize it for different social platforms, and dynamically add the text overlay captions. Runway AI is a text to video tool. So we're going to see a lot more of these over the next year. You can tell the tool what video you want it to create, and it will generate that for you. So I want to play a short sample from their latest showcase featuring some of what's being created. I'm not sure how well this will stream through, but as you watch this, remember, none of this was video that was shot, or none of this is CGI. It all comes from text prompts. The landscapes aren't real. The people don't exist. It's all generative AI, and it's getting better really fast. And I won't go through the whole thing, but really impressive content that's coming out of these tools. Oh, HeyGen. HeyGen is a tool that can create video avatars that are trained off of source video that you upload. And then you can take that and upload a text file, and it will animate you saying those words with your voice and all your natural body motions. So I have a friend that uses this. She created a bunch of AI courses. The problem with AI courses is they very quickly get outdated. So now she's trained an avatar of herself using HeyGen. So when she needs to update her courses, all she has to do is go and change the transcript. She doesn't have to reshoot. She doesn't have to do any editing. It just seamlessly integrates her new content into her entire course. And I did a short sample because it also does translation. I'm so excited about the new capability. That's me in English.
Ich bin so aufgeregt über die neuen Möglichkeiten und Chancen.
In German.
Estoy muy emocionado por las nuevas capacidades y oportunidades que 이러한 이제 생성 AI 도구들이 우리에게 제공하는 새로운 기능과 기회에 대해 너무 흥분되고 있습니다.
I don't speak any of those languages, but I love watching myself speak Korean. It's very cool. And they actually do have a service that will validate the translation, and then it can go back through and actually change the translation if it's not accurate. So pretty incredible. And then Artist talked a little bit about Notebook LM. I wanted to show you a quick example that we did using one of our internal newsletters. So we know that some people don't want to read a newsletter. It's pretty easy to convert the text to audio and then have an AI voice just read the text. But what Notebook LM does is it converts your content into a two-person podcast where they have a conversation about what you've uploaded. And their latest update actually allows you to have some control over the speakers so that you can target particular things that you want them to say, or have them target a particular audience that you want to address. Let me just play a short sample of this report.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Well,
This time, we're cracking open the September core report.
Yeah. Always an exciting time, like opening a present. You never know what cool new tools and updates they've come up with.
And let me tell you, this month's report is all about making our lives as site admins easier.
Music to my ears. Efficiency is key, right?
Absolutely. So let's jump right in, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, first up, we've got to talk about this RSS feed game changer.
Oh, yeah, this.
So pretty incredible how they naturally converse and they talk over each other and they interrupt each other. There's
This is a
actually
big one.
Remember how we used to, hey everybody,
there's actually a great episode. HeyGen was the tool that I used for translation. This tool is called Notebook LM. There's actually an episode out on Reddit where the two hosts, someone uploaded a document telling them that they were AI and they weren't real. So the hosts had an existential conversation about the fact that they're not real. So it's pretty interesting and worth a few minutes of your time. If you want to laugh, I'll throw the link to that in the chat. So these AI tools make it much easier for you to take a core piece of content in one format and repurpose it to distribute over multiple different channels for multiple different audiences. So if you have a news article that's performing well and driving a lot of traffic, you can point ChatGPT at that article, ask it to write a TikTok script for a potential undergraduate student audience using the content from that story, and it can spit it out in minutes. And then you can give it to one of your student social media interns and have them record that in their natural language, but at least it'll give them ideas of what they should be saying and what topics they should be talking about. You can take a podcast, turn a 30-minute interview into dozen different pieces of content for various channels, for various audiences. But one of my favorite things to do with these tools is to optimize your content performance. So I love Google Search Console. Google Search Console, it's free. It has all sorts of great information, like what terms people are searching on and then what pages they're visiting on your site. I hate Google Search Console because the interface is painful. It doesn't put all the information together that I want to see in the way I want to see it. You can either look at queries or you can look at pages. And then when you export from Google Search Console, you only get the first few thousand entries. So I always bring my Search Console data into Looker Data Studio. So you can actually grab this template from getmyslides.info. I'll have the QR code at the end of this as well. And you can just make a copy of it and point it at your Google Search Console data. And then you can get all of this. So basically it has the terms people are searching on to find your site, the pages that they're coming to, how many times they're searching on those terms in the time frame that you've identified, and then how many times they're clicking on your site to come through. And you can even see what position you rank for on average over that time period. So this is information that you spend a lot of money through SEMrush or Moz to get this sort of data, and you can get all of this for free using this dashboard. But you can also see down here, this dashboard returns 950,000 results. So I don't have time to go through 950,000 results. Now, I've been telling people for years to look at your data. If you want to impact your content performance, look at your data. That's where you find the insights into what your audience wants, what questions they're asking, and what's working or what's not working when it comes to your content. Now I'm not telling people that anymore. Now I'm telling people to let AI look at your data. It can look at a much larger data set. It can look through all 950,000 results. It can run regression analysis and do predictive modeling, all sorts of things that you used to need a data scientist to do. So we don't have the resources to spend time and to hire data scientists to do this. But now what I can do is I can just right click on this and I can say, export this as a CSV, and it exports all 950,000 rows. And then I just throw that in ChatGPT and I say, you're a content marketing expert, come up with recommendations on new content, use the Search Console data, look at our strategic priorities, create 20 new ideas, please, and take your time. And then it comes back with 20 different content ideas that are strategically important, that are based on keywords you're already ranking for, that are connected to pillar pages that you may have, focused on particular audiences. So now what do you do with all these story ideas? Well, now you open up Potential Pat and you say, I'm going to, which of these content ideas are the most interesting to you? And you paste in all those content ideas. And then Pat will come back and say, well, these are the ones that are the most interesting to me. So very interesting what you can do, and it really can help you tailor your content for your specific audience. So I also host the AI for You podcast. The best thing about hosting a podcast is that you get the opportunity to connect with and interview all sorts of amazing leaders in the industry and find out what they're doing and what's working for them. So a few of the best use cases I've heard so far on connecting and serving your students came from a few different episodes. So Dr. Janet Spriggs is the president of Forsyth Technical Community College, and she talked about how they're using chatbots to provide 24/7 support to students at all stages of their journey. So from initial interest to enrollment to, even when they are on campus life, they have different chatbots that deal with each different aspect of the student. They will pass the student from one chatbot to another because they specialize on different things. And when it gets to a certain point, they will pass the student from a chatbot to a live counselor if there's a question that the chatbots can't answer. And they've seen their highest enrollment in a decade after implementing these chatbots. They're also using predictive analytics to support their adult learners, which are their fastest growing population. Our business school is actually doing something similar. They have teaching assistants, virtual teaching assistants that they've created to provide 24/7 access for the students when their TA isn't available for them. It's been working very well for them. Tina Miller from ASU will be the guest on my next episode. I think it releases next week. She talked about many different ways they're using AI to help their students. One of the most impressive use cases was their Degree Me AI. So it's a degree navigation tool. So students answer a whole bunch of different personalized questions about their interests and hobbies and passions. And then the tool suggests different degree programs that might be the most interesting to them. Because having 6 kids, 3 of whom are in college right now, we've got 1 left at home who's doing his college research. Students don't know what they want to do. They've only seen a handful of different careers in their life, so they have a very limited range. But when they start asking these questions and these tools start suggesting different opportunities, it really opens their mind up. They also have a Syllabot that helps students look through different courses, different degree requirements, and helps them figure out their schedules, which was exactly what was mentioned by one of the students on the panel earlier today. And then Claire Brady, I just interviewed her earlier this week. She's going to be on the show next month. And she just helped create this incredible report that showcases all sorts of different ways to integrate AI into your institutions. And I can't give any specifics or share details on particular institutions until the report is released. But I will say there are some pretty incredible integrations. One school is using AI to monitor student performance in class and attendance so that it can flag students who might have potential issues and connect them with a counselor who can provide resources and engage with them and try to figure out what the issue is. And that's had a huge impact on student success and retention. And when it comes to admissions, one of the best things we can do for our admissions and enrollment is to work on keeping the students we already have. So I've shared a lot of different ways that institutions are using AI, some of the ways that we're using AI, but you may be at an institution who is still struggling to figure out how to start integrating this technology into your processes, and not just your individual processes. Since you're at this event, you're most likely either AI enthusiasts or at least interested in learning more. But there are still a lot of people at our institutions, a lot of leaders who aren't interested in taking on this huge change management challenge, which is what AI adoption is. It's not a technology project. It's a change management project. And we already have limited time and limited resources. So how can we add this to our scope? How can we get our institutions on board? So we actually did this by starting a Marcom AI committee. So we just launched it, within our team, and then we decided we were going to open it up across all the different marketers across our institution, and just to start looking at ways to help marketers, communicators, and digital teams figure out how to leverage these tools to make them more efficient and effective, and figure out how to integrate these tools in an ethical and responsible way into our processes. So we started off by finding enthusiasts. We started having conversations with other people across campus. We did a survey to figure out how many marketers were already using AI. This was back in February. 20% of the marketers, of the 300 marketers that we surveyed, were using AI every week with no guidelines, no guardrails, and really no instructions. So we came up with a plan to create guidelines. We developed short-term and long-term roadmaps. And we accomplished all of that in 3 months with about 20 people. And now we've moved into creating an AI community of practice where we can share knowledge and ideas. So every month we're meeting, we're identifying and moving forward with pilot projects within our team that are scalable so that we can share them out across the entire Marcom community. And we just started with Marcom, but we've already branched out and started talking to other groups across the institution who are also leveraging these tools. And we're finding new ways to use this technology every day. So it is up to us as individuals to decide what can be automated and what needs direct human involvement and strategic decision-making. These tools can do a lot of things, but it's up to us to decide what they should do. It's a very exciting time to be in higher ed, to be creating content, and to be working in this digital landscape. So thank you so much for listening to me today. Like I said, you can grab the slides, dashboard, prompts, tools at the link. And I think we do have a few minutes for questions. I'm sorry I haven't been able to keep up with the with this chat as I've been going along.
Well, you could have had AI do that for you. I'm just
I should have.
saying.
Absolutely. Here's Hulda when I need it.
Y'all, this was great. Brian, I've been paying attention to the chat. And actually, one of my favorite comments just came through. Mara sent me a note that said, and she actually just sent to the whole chat room too. She finds it fascinating, and I completely agree with her that institutions are supposed to be at the forefront of innovation, and yet higher ed's the most resistant to change. Like it's just, it doesn't compute in my brain.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, our whole goal as institutions, we're always telling our students, be innovative, be forward thinking, look towards the future. And then a lot of our leaders are like, we don't want to implement this because, I mean, there are data issues. There are absolutely things that you have to consider, but those are all, areas that can be overcome. They can be dealt with. You can create, closed off environments. You have to educate people what data they can put into these tools and what data they can't. It all starts with education and awareness.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we've got a couple questions. A quick one. Paul wanted to know if you use MS Copilot.
So Copilot was one of the tools that we tested. We have still not really identified a lot of good uses for Copilot. So if anyone has any good use cases with Copilot, let me know. We played with it. We tried it. They're talking about when agents come out, Microsoft keeps talking about the agents they're going to release. I could see a lot of applications there maybe within the different tools. But yeah, Copilot hasn't had a lot of success, at least the way we've been using it.
Okay. Well, Anthony wants to know, observes that some institutions are indeed very slow to implementing even the simplest uses of artificial intelligence and therefore are falling behind. How have you been able to convince your leadership, your colleagues to let you and your team really run with these tools? Like, did we have to bribe them with Halloween candy or what was the best way of convincing them that like, no, this is important. We have to pay attention.
We did not use Dorito flavored smart food.
Which, for the record, I tried last night and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. All right. Full circle.
She had that look on her face that she did not enjoy it.
It's true.
Yeah. So actually one of the things that worked the best for us, and we've used this for several other governance issues, is to show the risks of not integrating. So I created a slide deck and I shared it with our VP of marketing, and I had all these great use cases, all the time savings. I did 3 months worth of work in a week. But then when I got to the slide of, here are the risks of adopting AI. Absolutely. There's data risks. There's
Yeah.
Usage risk, all can be overcome with education. But when I got to the next slide, which was the risks of not adopting and of falling behind and of missing opportunities and not being able to retain employees because they want to go work somewhere where they can learn AI, not being able to help our students find these, get these skills that they're going to need when they go out in the workforce. So it was really that risk slide of showing them, what might happen if we don't adopt this technology and start moving now. That was the most effective.
Yeah, I am with you on that. Sometimes it's not about showing the benefits, but it's about showing the pitfalls. And we know that, we heard it from the students. I think it was Shelby who said, I want an institution that is going to prepare me for the workforce that I'm about to enter, the job that doesn't exist today, but is going to exist tomorrow because of artificial intelligence. And that is institution wide. It's teaching and learning. It's how our staff are being trained and being allowed to use it. It's integrating it into the student journey experience. So the pitfalls are pretty significant. And especially in a time when, we're in an industry of decline, right? Every day a door closes, and like it could be our door the next day. We have to embrace this stuff to stay at the front, to stay open.
Right. Yeah. And, I loved Seth's recommendation yesterday that if you really want to get AI adopted at your institution, find a board member that you can, encouraged about the technology. But there's just so many opportunities. And the nice thing about being in marketing, obviously our medical center, really restrictive about what data they can use.
Yep.
Researchers, and they can't release any IP, super concerned about that. But we're in marketing, we're not uploading any personal information. We're not uploading any student data at this point, not yet, until we have a closed environment. But all like the SEO data that we're putting in, all the, Search Console data that we're putting in, that's all like you can get that information about other institutions, like using different tools. Like I could go to SEMrush and find out what any different institution is ranking for and, how much traffic they're getting. So that's all basically public information that we're putting into these tools currently. So I think in marketing, we have a little bit more leeway depending on what kind of information we're uploading to these tools.
Yep, absolutely. So, hey, I've got a question for you. What's a common misconception that you hear about artificial intelligence in higher ed that you find yourself kind of regularly debunking? Because you're at all of these conferences speaking. So I'm really curious to hear what you often hear.
I hear a lot of people talking about how it's going to take jobs. It's going to, and it will impact certain jobs. We may not need as many people to do the tasks that we're currently doing, but we're going to find ways to give people roles that are more creative, more strategic, more collaborative. We're going to have to figure out how to integrate these tools in a way that we work with them, not that it's the tool doing everything, because they still need human oversight. They still need expertise in these other areas to validate the tasks that they're performing, or to approve the next step in the task, or to make sure that the information that they're returning is accurate. And I also hear people talk a lot about how it's going to like steal our humanity. And in every episode of my podcast, I've always been shocked talking to all these different AI experts. We always end up coming back to how AI can help us be more human and help us really focus on what it is about us that makes us unique, how we can tell our stories and integrate our messages into our content. So I think it's interesting that a lot of people think that AI is going to, replace our humanity or stifle our humanity. But if you use it properly, I think it can increase our humanity and make us more human.
Yeah, and increase the ability to form the one-to-one relationships with our students because there's so much, we know there's so much every single day that we all have to do that we could automate. It's just the mundane tasks that like eat up some portion of our day. I think about when I was like early career, I was an admission counselor, I was a road runner, and I remember this was like 2008. I was sitting there like a fresh admission counselor. I think I walked in the door on like August 1st, and they were like, all right, you've got the month of August to figure out your travel schedule for September, October, and November. And here's endless information over the last 30 years of all the people who've traveled in your territory. Here you go. Have fun. Go figure it out. Like, I just imagine if I could have just plugged all of that information into AI and then not only had it optimize like what schools I should visit based off of the data of applied and enrolled students, but then optimize like the right driving path. Like, I
Right?
spent 2 weeks in Westchester, New York, and like I was bouncing around from like the top of Westchester down to like Yonkers. And oh man, I wasted so much time in that car just driving from school to school. Like, sorry, I'll get off the soapbox. But I'm just saying, like, AI could have taken what took me an entire month to do. Like, it could have done it for me in an afternoon. Oh,
Yeah, and think of how much more
boy.
enjoyable, the experience would have been for you if it had been able to
Yes.
guide you through like, here's what you might specifically like personally about this campus. Here are some areas
Hmm.
you should go check out, or here's some activity groups that you might want to, visit while you're on campus. I mean, who needs to spend time organizing travel or filling out expense reports or writing meta descriptions? I mean, we've got custom chatbots that will do all of that work for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm seeing a couple more chats come in. Daisha, I preach. Lewis is saying, oh, sounds like an opportunity for community colleges to help folks retool. Absolutely. And Mara is dropping in saying, Brian, the idea that you can do virtual focus groups through AI is mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many capabilities, and that's the thing I love about the podcast. Every time I record a new episode, I'm like, oh my gosh, I hadn't even thought of that. And that's why it's so important for us to have these conversations and to share with each other, because all the different ways that we approach this technology result in different applications and are just, keep expanding the different capabilities around these tools. And even the companies making these tools, even the engineers building them, don't really know everything that they can do. So it's up to us to start figuring out how we can incorporate them into, really a better student experience.
Yeah. Well, friends, just like that, the end of day 2 is upon us. And oh, I'm just sad we're not going to get to hang out again all afternoon tomorrow. But I hope that you have had a really great time these last 2 days at the AI Engage Summit. I hope you're thinking about joining us in Charlotte next summer. And please stay in touch. Like you have just heard from some of the finest Enrollify creators, and enrollify.org. Sign up for the newsletter. We would love to be in your earbuds. Subscribe to our podcasts. And I hope we'll get to meet you at an event coming up later this year. Thank you again, everyone. We wouldn't have been able to do this without great presenters like Brian. We wouldn't have been able to do this without incredible participants like yourself. So with that, we appreciate you and we will see you next time. Bye-bye, all.
Thank you.